So in this video, I want to talk about what is considered cheating when oil painting. And I put that in quotes because there's a lot of things that artists, there's just a whole spectrum, right? There are people out there or artists out there that will only work from life, will not use any measuring tools at all, have to, just do everything by sight. Don't do any color checking, and they think that doing anything other than working that way is considered cheating. But that is a real small minority of artists that I know that actually work that way. Almost all artists that I know, I know a few people that only work from life, and they tend to be people who just do plein air paintings, but they're not detailed, they're sort of landscape sketches, they're not big, massive paintings. Or they tend to be people that like to paint a lot of still lifes and shadow boxes. I have students, for instance, that just do not want to work from photographs. And that's why when they take my private class here in Austin, I give them the option to work from life. But I actually recommend that they start by working from a glossy photograph. Just because, and then, start with that and then go learn to work from life, because it's just such a great tool to do your color checking and everything else. Now, you can color check from life. You can even do it with a brush or using one of these color checkers that we sell at Geneva Fine Art. But basically, what I want to talk about in this video is just sort of like give you an honest presentation of all these different tools that artists are using. In the very early days, artists didn't think that there was anything like cheating. They would use whatever tools they had before them. They were using measuring devices. They were drawing lines with rulers, or Vermeer is. There's a whole documentary called Tim's Vermeer that documents that Vermeer used a lens. He projected the light through and bounced it off of mirrors, and he basically matched the colors by looking down right at the painting, comparing it in a mirror to what he was looking at. And so nobody's saying that he's not a real artist because he was using all of those aids. So now there is a limit. You can, at some point, they're going to be making robots that can paint paintings with oil paint to such a high level that you won't be able to tell whether it was painted by a person or not. But here's the thing, and this is the crazy part about it. That day is coming. There'll be, possibly ways that you can prove that you were actually the one that painted it and it wasn't a robot that painted it, but that already exists today in the world of sculpting. You can take a 3D CNC machine, which is basically a robot that carves wood, and you can carve these very detailed sculptures like this. And so imagine if you go to an art gallery and you see two hand-carved heads, or at least they're labeled hand-carved. But little do you know that the one on the left was carved on a CNC machine. The entire thing was sculpted by a machine, and then the artist maybe sanded it a little bit and then put a nice varnish on it. And maybe the one on the right was completely chiseled by hand with hand tools. So, and there's no way you can know unless the artist tells you, or that you're able to go, watch him do it, or whatever it is. So, but that world is actually coming to artists. But here's the thing, and this is gets into the whole thing about, should you use AI image sources, which I do in my some of my videos. But is it okay to use AI image sources to paint from? And a lot of people would say no, that's a big, they don't like it. I do know that from the very beginning, when I first started painting, I didn't want to use a projector because I thought maybe that was cheating. So for the first about 5 years, I didn't use a projector. But then when I did start to use a projector, I didn't want everybody to know that I did, because I thought some people would say that was cheating. So I did it all in secret, and I didn't tell anybody. And there was all kinds of things that I did. I've got this whole method that I teach where you do color checking and everything. Well, that was something that I came up with on my own. And then when I first started to teach people, I was really hesitant to thinking, should I reveal all my secrets? It took me years to develop all these tricks and ways of painting where you could color check and do your measuring when you're drawing and everything. And but I just decided, in the very beginning, I thought, if I went to somebody and I wanted them to teach me, and they told me everything about their technique except the one real secret that was the most important part, I would think, that's not really, I wouldn't have a lot of respect for that person. So I decided that I just should be very transparent. And so when I'm talking to other artists, I share everything. I'm just like I'm doing now. I tell you that I'm working from an AI image. I show you how I do my drawing by measuring with a proportional divider. I talk about color checking, mixing your rows. There's a lot of artists that do all of that stuff, but they don't tell you that they do that stuff. I'm just somebody that's been very transparent with it, and I've always tried to be. And that's the one thing that I think, if there's anything that's cheating, it would be lying about what you're doing. And I think that, saying, well, that I worked from life and I painted this whole thing out of my imagination when actually used an AI image or whatever it was. But that would be the one thing that I do think would be considered, at least deceptive about, creating paintings. But there is another side of this, and that is, I call this in front of the curtain or behind the curtain. So back when I used to do portraits, and I worked from photographs almost always. I did a few from life in the early days, but after that it was all from photographs. But I never showed my clients the photographs. So I always wanted my portraits to stand on their own. I didn't want somebody to come into the studio, look at my portrait, and then hold up the photograph and say, wow, look, he did that perfect, and oh, you missed that part, and why did you change that? I didn't want the photograph to be part of my work of art. So in front of the curtain, when I'm showing my paintings to clients, I don't show the sources that I work from. But as a teacher on YouTube, this is behind the curtain. I'm showing you how the magic is done. And in that case, I really feel like it's important that I tell everybody. So this is just my opinion. If you're going to work from AI images or from photographs, I think that you should tell people, yes, I use AI images, I get a lot of great ideas by looking at them, but my painting stands on its own. And no matter what you paint, your painting's never going to be exactly like that AI image. You're going to put your own brushwork in there, you're going to change things a little bit without even knowing it, and your painting will always stand on its own, regardless, even if you did work from AI images. So if you were going to work from AI images, I personally would recommend that you don't show people those AI images. You might, like I said, be honest and say, look, I use AI images, for ideas or for, to see how to paint certain things, but I would not show them your AI image so they can say, how well did you do, or whatever it is, because I do think paintings should stand on their own. When it comes to AI images and whether you should use those as a source material. And in my own, when AI images first came out and I was looking at it and I was trying to decide, would I want to use that for the reason that I started doing it is just because I would see an image like this that I would generate and I'd think, man, I want to paint that. And so I just thought, well, and the more I would generate these things, if I'm going to do a still life, you can push it in any direction you want. The AI you're the one that's going to guide it. You're the one that's going to say, I want this and I want that and I don't like this part. And you can continuously modify these images until you end up with something like this, or something like this, or something like this. And as you can see, all of these are radically different in style, but that's just because that's what I described, or that's what and it's not like, and what I tell my students that are starting to generate their images on Midjourney or wherever else, is I say, don't just generate some images and then pick the first one that you love. Instead, generate 50 images and then pick the one that you love. Or generate an image, and then if you don't like something about it, you might change your prompt and describe it a little different. Add morning light at the end instead of, overcast skies or whatever you want. You can direct the AI to generate these images based on your prompt or your description. But you're the one that's going to guide it, and you're the one that's going to say, I like this and I don't like that. And so when I generate images like this one, or like this one, these are not things that I could paint out of my imagination. And I may not even have the idea for some of these. I might have a general idea, which is why it generated this image, because it's just doing it based on the text prompt that I gave it. But basically, this was not the first one by any means that I generated. I think this was probably the 50th or 100th image that I generated with this prompt. And then I slowly modified it and changed things and ended up with this. And when I see an image like this, I just want to paint it. And, and it's not like you can get variations. It's not like if I'm painting from my imagination, I might have one idea in my head and it's typically really contrived, and then I might go paint that. But if I'm going to get AI to generate the image, I'll say, you know what, okay, give me one. Okay, there's one from a prompt. And then here's another one from the same prompt. Now I can choose which one do I like better. And by doing this over and over again, you're using AI to come up with these wonderful, beautiful compositions, really interesting subject matter. And so that's what compels me to want to use the AI images. It's not because my painting is going to be exactly like any one of those AI images. It's going to be an oil painting. And, but, subject matter, lighting, composition are so important that I can use the AI to help me to come up with some really wonderful ideas and subject matter for painting. So that's why I use the AI. Oh, I wanted to mention that we have a newsletter that comes out on a regular basis now. So if you want to sign up for the newsletter, go to the address that I have on the screen here, and you can sign up. And it's free. There's all kinds of content in there. We'll be answering questions about oil painting. I'll be telling you about videos that I've made here on YouTube, but also talking about new products at Geneva, where we have a new purple that we're coming out with. So if you want to sign up for our newsletter, go to the address on the screen here and sign up, and you'll be on our newsletter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.